Welcome to
NSCoder Chicago.
Welcome to
NSCoder Chicago.
Welcome to
NSCoder Chicago. NSCoder Chicago.
Welcome to
Hi, everyone. You're listening to the NSCoder Chicago podcast. Every week we talk about topics related to Apple, development, and tech in general. My name is Sean Walter.
My name is David Vision. NSCoder is a monthly meetup. There we cover the same kinds of topics we cover here, but in person. We meet regularly on the last Tuesday of every month. Whether you're an expert software developer or someone who just likes to chat about your favorite tech products, you're welcome to join us for some pizza, salad, and presentations. More information is available at nscoder-chicago.com, or you can search meetup.com for NSCoder, Apple Meetup, or anything similar, and you'll find us there.
Yeah, all are welcome. We'd love to see you.
So this past week, I saw an interesting post on Reddit about architecture in iOS development, and this post was from a person who kind of felt like they were spending way too much time in their personal projects trying to create their ideal, perfect architecture, within their project, over actually developing features and shipping their app. After kind of complaining about it a little bit in their post, they decided at the end that they are not going to focus on clean architecture at all, at least for their solo projects, and they're shifting to a mentality of just shipping the product as fast as possible. And so I thought it was an interesting post, and honestly, I related with it on some levels. Recently, I've gone into indie development. And so I thought it might be interesting to talk about the importance of clean architecture, and is it really necessary in every project, including solo projects? I think there's a lot of different ways we can kind of look at this, different angles, but I'm kind of curious what you think right off the bat.
Yeah, I've seen similar posts over the years on Stack Overflow and Reddit and Twitter, back when Twitter existed. It's funny because I'm sure if you've worked in software, you've worked with somebody who is a zealot, dogmatic for a certain architecture. We've got to make everything solid and clean and God, what are some other ones?
Modular.
There's so many. I mean, not to disparage the idea of having modular clean code, and you can read the Pragmatic Programmer, and I think SOLID was the acronym. I mean, this is how Swiss cheese my memory is. What was that book from? Let me know in the comments, listeners. Even on iOS, model view controller, for decades now, it's been the MVC is the way to do it. And before getting to specifics, I'll pontificate a little about the purpose, right? If we start at the first principles, why are you writing software? If you're an individual, you're writing software to have fun or scratch an itch or solve a problem on your computer with a simple script, or even just try out an idea and see will anyone pay me money for this? I would build everything, your workflows, your continuous deployment system, your code, your architecture towards that goal. If you are, on the other hand, on the other end of the spectrum, a megacorp that has billions of users and needs to meet HIPAA and what's the financial FINRA government certification, then you should have an architecture that supports a lot of people and QA and individual testing and
Well, you say you should, right? Does that mean it needs to be there?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to name names, but I've worked at people that had horrible code bases and horrible development practices.
Sure, yeah. I think we've all seen it.
They're still making money, Customers don't care if your code is Swift or PHP or hand-spun binary on cards. As long as it solves their problem, then,
Yep.
then they're happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember you, David, and you, the listener? Do you remember when Uber had like 1,000 iOS engineers, and
Whoa.
they had a architecture specific to enable that? I
I
think
didn't
I think they
realize
did
that.
the
Wow.
Viper. Yeah,
Oh,
I think
Viper.
theirs was
Yeah.
Viper.
Okay, I heard about
Um,
that. Was loosely interested in it. Actually, I think I've mostly heard about it through conferences, but I never really became an expert at it.
so Viper was hyper modular so that they could have those 1,000 engineers doing stuff without stepping on each other's feet. Because like you can imagine if you had one, monolithic controller for everything,
Mm,
any pull request would break 7 other pull requests. Imagine those thousands
yeah.
of people, even those thousands of people working lazily would still have, hundreds of changes a week.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not going to go too much into Viper, but it's view, interactor, presenter, entity, and router. What does that
Mm-hmm.
mean? I don't know. You can Google it. But
Mm-hmm.
similarly, like I remember Facebook. I'm not even going to Google it now, but Facebook had their own architecture because Facebook wanted independence from Apple. They wanted their own design language. They acquired the paper team. They had that one guy Hewitt that had his own sort of, God, what was it called? 320, I think the number of pixels. It was like 320 framework. But like all these architectures came out of a real or perceived problem that the organization had. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Like Facebook probably could have just used off the shelf iOS and still been fine, but who knows? Engineers are going to engineer.
Hmm.
So on one hand, my first point, the architecture and the strategy and your goals are all
Mm-hmm.
intertwined. So going back to this individual, if you're making an app for yourself and you want to make money off it and you haven't even shipped, then you're wasting your time with worrying too much about the architecture.
Yeah.
Write whatever works.
Uh-huh.
Um, the the second point, the larger point, even outside of architecture, is feedback loops. You need you need to get your software to people.
Mm.
Otherwise, you have no idea if it's valuable, if it solves their
Yeah.
problem. Maybe you're solving the wrong problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about get to market, see if this thing is
Mm.
valuable, if it works. You got to get real life feedback because
Mm-hmm.
again, I'm sure all of us have been on a meeting or a call where somebody's like, "Oh, we really got to build this thing. We
Yeah.
really need it to be blue." And then you ship it, and then customers use it in a weird way, or they say uniformly, "Oh, I hate that color,"
Mm-hmm.
or "Oh, I love this app, but I only use it to, download pizzas." And you're like, "Ah, but we made it for tacos. What are we doing?"
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So again, to this hypothetical individual that I'm trying to give advice to, like you don't need to worry about architecture if your goal is to ship an app and hopefully find some customers.
Yeah.
Because until
Yeah.
you get to market, you're shooting in the dark. You're going to be wrong. The only question is how wrong are you going to be?
Yeah, and I think you bringing up the goal is really key there, because if you're just a hobbyist and you love programming and you're doing this just for fun at home, maybe you don't even care if it ships or not. You're just want to make something you're proud of,
Yep.
which is a lot of software developers, right? You just want to make something that feels good sometimes or makes you happy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Uh, there's no problem with focusing on the architecture. Some people really love kind of getting it exactly the way they want it to. They take a lot of pride when they need to update it, and it's super easy to do that because of the high level of modularity they baked in. Um, but if your goal is to get to market, that is obviously going to be maybe a distraction to actually delivering the feature as fast as possible. Sometimes delivering as fast as possible means focusing less on the environment of your project and how it all fits together, and more on just making it work from a user experience standpoint.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, I don't know if you've ever done this, but even on like scripts for myself, like little automations that I wanted to build for anything, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, have you ever heard the I think it's an acronym. Yeah, acronym. YAGNI.
Um.
YAGNI is you ain't gonna need it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh, so like, I'm making a script and I'm like, okay, so I'll use Alfred to kick off a Python script, to kick off an Apple script, and I'll do this, and then I'll make it extensible. So I should probably have a dictionary value full of like application names, and then like I think about all the ways I could extend it, and then in practice I haven't touched the script in like 10 years. Like
yeah.
Not that I wasted my time, because this supports your point where like it was fun. I wanted to see, could I build it in this way for my own sort of education and excitement, and that was good.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to learn from really focusing on architecture in your own projects, but that's got to be the goal. And if it's not, then you're not hitting your real goal of delivering features. And there's plenty of reason to be interested in architecture specifically. Like maybe you're really trying to push your career forward. You want to be the architect of your team. You should spend time working on architecture at home, experimenting, seeing what works, what doesn't, what the pros and cons are, so that you can take that back to your team and they can really benefit from that. But yeah, it really boils down to the goals at the end of the day.
That's a great point, though, because like on a team, if everybody's just sort of Googling for, I don't know, what's a good architecture, or like, let's just use what we had and continue to glom onto it. Like you going home and playing in a toy project and trying out different things, you can then come back to your team educated and fluent to say, I think we should refactor into this architecture because of these reasons. And I tried it myself and it works in these ways. And like, that's so much better than like the one guy. It's always a guy who's like, oh yeah, we have to use Viper because I used Viper when I worked at Uber 20 years ago. You want to experiment and play in the space and see what's possible, stay up to date. I mean, that's built into so much of software development.
Agreed. And to people who are early in their software development career, I'll just say you'd be surprised how many people only code on the job, and the last thing they want to do is code at home some more, And so if you're willing to code at home and explore these things in your own projects, you've got a good leg up and a good opportunity to really grow there quickly compared to your peers, because you get that extra amount of experience. Definitely worth exploring. But I think it's worth. It seems like we agree immediately on this topic that you don't really like need it. Maybe you should even avoid focusing on architecture if you're focused on getting features out the door.
Yeah.
But maybe there's room to push back a little bit too, in that let's say you get all these features out, the app's doing great, and now you need to support it.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking, because I was about to say, well, it's not that simple. I mean, this reminds me, a friend of mine and a former coworker, Wayan, who I worked with at the Active Campaign a few years ago, also a former NSCoder attendee. He had this great point, not specific to iOS development, but when we were working together, he said it so good at the time. It like an amateur, like when you're first learning karate, you just know the moves, right? And you sort of work from a checklist. And so amateurs or beginners in any field will look for the checklist or the framework or the blueprint and say, I'll just follow the blueprint. But when you get to true mastery, when you're an expert guitarist or painter or, I don't know, karate practitioner, you realize that the secret is not to follow the checklist. The secret is to improvise and avoid mistakes and synthesize all of these best practices into something that like meets the real world.
Yeah.
So with architecture, it's not all or none. It's not this or that. It's a spectrum, and you have to like sort of improvise and find the systems that work at the right time.
You can kind of plan for the late game early on too. You can decide to go, full force, no architecture plans. And just like
just one giant app delegate file.
Exactly, like put it on there, make AI, do whatever spaghetti code, just get it out there, and then maybe you rewrite the whole thing later, with the proven market, with the gained audience.
Well, this is an open question. I don't know but like, will Claude, if you ask Claude to explicitly make it a bad architecture.
Oh,
You
wow. Yeah.
don't abstract anything. Don't use any classes. Just put it all in one file.
Oh,
I
my
wonder if you could
goodness.
force it to be bad.
I wonder, yeah. I feel like that extra bit of direction might actually make it do a better architecture, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
Gosh.
the fact that it's even thinking about it, but
Yeah. As you described, like making mistakes is part of learning, right? So
oh yeah.
maybe if this is your first iOS app, you glom everything into the controller file, and I don't know, you're just saving everything on disk, and like that's fine, it works.
Yeah.
But even somebody who's made an app or two before or shipped something to the App Store, maybe hypothetically you realize like it is a bad idea to hard code your data persistence in the same class and file.
Sure.
So then you're like,
Yeah.
with more experience, maybe you don't go full force into like core data and using a fetch results controller and asynchronous. Like maybe you just make a class that's like data persistence thing. And then in the future, if I want to keep maintaining this, I can always swap out this data persistence for core data or something else, or I don't know, who knows? But like,
oh yeah,
that comes from experience.
I may not be super into like having the best architecture in every project, but I will say I'm always gonna have a little bit of an abstraction layer for my data persistence and networking, because if I do either of those on the spot wherever they're needed, I just like that's a nightmare scenario for me, like like having to go back and update all of those individually.
Oh yeah.
I will always wrap those in like some kind of manager to not to do as little of that as possible,
Yeah. Yeah, so even if, on that spectrum, even though you're not going whole hog into, some astronaut architecture, from experience the weak points, the break points, the points that you know that you will probably change in the future.
Oh yeah.
And that, that's a great start, find that balance that works for you.
Yeah, yeah. Another point arguing for architecture, if your goal is to impress other developers, aka for interviews, aka for open source, aka just your friends, who you like, you guys are super into the best code possible, maybe. That is another good time to really focus on architecture. Let's say you've got a GitHub profile that you want to show off, and you want anyone to be able to stumble upon it anytime and really be impressed. Work on a great architecture there, because people do look, and sometimes it'll catch you off guard, Sometimes it'll be someone at, an NSCoder meetup, who like, oh yeah, I saw your profile, or sometimes in an interview, maybe they've looked at your stuff before they even talk to you. It's good to, if you want to focus on architecture, that's a good place to really show that off and have something you're proud of that is put together well.
Yeah. If you, I don't know, in that hypothetical situation, then the goal, the strategy is to have a portfolio piece,
right,
and to learn.
Exactly.
So in that case, you make a reactive, like a RX Swifty sort of project. Maybe it doesn't do much, but it shows to anyone that's interested that you have experience with that architecture. You've built something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's. I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe this is just me. I hope it's not. But when I'm like kind of doing my own thing at home, I'm fine to like let my like bedroom and stuff be a little bit sloppy for a few days. But if I've got some guests coming over, if I know people are gonna see things, I'm gonna make sure it's as tidy as possible.
That's a good metaphor. Yeah.
I mean, and there really is. I saw. I mean, I don't know how applicable this is to everyone, but I've seen cases, where certain popular online identities will suddenly have their work scrutinized by a large public audience, maybe they made this really great game and somehow the code base leaked and everyone's suddenly, a critic of their coding practices.
Yep.
The game could have been great user experience-wise, but if it didn't follow industry standards, suddenly that person is, made to look like the most inexperienced developer ever,
Oh man. So this is another like social
kind of,
what's
yeah.
the right phrase for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, peer pressure maybe,
Sure.
Judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Cuz it's funny I immediately think of like 2 weeks ago Adobe released the source code for Photoshop like 1.0,
Oh.
and it's mostly in assembly.
Whoa, okay.
And coverage, I mean, I'm not going to read that assembly. I don't know what I'm looking at, but coverage of it has been, oh, this is really well factored and really understandable. Like, way to go. Another one, this is from years ago. The guy that did Prince of Persia, Jordan Mechner, he released the source code for the original Apple II Prince of Persia. And again, it's in assembly.
Wow.
And I've looked at it. I don't know what I'm looking at, but again, the coverage is like positive. Like, wow, this person, this code is well factored. My counterexample. I haven't actually seen the code, but I've seen a bunch of coverage in the game dev world of Undertale.
Oh yeah,
an award-winning game. But the coverage was like, Undertale is a great game with a horrible code base, and like I don't know if the code leaked or if it's based on a presentation that the developer did. But the example there was like, this person is not a programmer first and foremost. This person is a game designer, and they wanted to tell a compelling story with compelling gameplay.
Oh,
and so who cares about the architecture?
Yeah,
but all of that has social impact. His peers are looking at that and judging.
Yeah,
and hyping them up or tearing them down.
Right. And it can be tough socially because, especially as a junior developer, you look up to more experienced developers, and most of the time they're pretty, well versed in different architectures and opinionated on what they feel is best and sticking to that. And so you can imagine if you feel like that's what makes an expert, and then you look over at someone who like isn't doing much of that at all. Maybe it feels like they didn't really hit that expert level,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important to zoom out and really focus on the goals. It's tough because every industry has its norms. Every hobby, every practice, every skill has its norms, and very opinionated people on how to do things. But at the end of the day, what really matters is whether you're achieving your goals or not. And there's so many different ways to do the same thing. I think there's plenty of people who would argue otherwise, that like, no, you really should focus on the architecture or, for whatever reasons. But I think maybe we're just more open-minded people, Sean. Like I think the architecture can sit on the side if it means you're going to achieve your goals that much faster,
Yeah. I mean, well said. The goals, really, what are you trying to do? Is this a hobby? Is this a money-making thing? Do you have to work with a big team, a small team? Does it have to be secure? Is it mission critical? Like, right. The architecture and coding standards for the space shuttle, probably a lot different than the Python script that like turns on the lights in my basement. Like,
sure, yeah.
But in all these things, like I'll take another run at trying to explain this concept in my head, because like with the virtuosos, with the true experts, whether it's guitar or woodworking or programming, they don't like use a set thing. They like take the set thing and they like go beyond it.
Oh yeah.
And so the right answer is not to have, a stringent architecture necessarily. The right answer is to like, combine, to know everything and bring it all together and synthesize something that meets those goals, that helps you to do what you want to do.
Agreed. Yeah.
We should put it on the list for the future. We should talk about like programming role models, like people we worked with or people that we saw, on the internet that we were like, I want to be like that.
Okay.
Because when you're thinking like, I want to be like that, like you want to be like, I don't know. I've never worked with Bill Gates, but he has this mythos that like even as CEO, he would still like read these, novel length specs and look at code and be like, no, this isn't good. You shouldn't do that. And like whether that was mythology or not, like
sure, yeah,
that is something that somebody admires.
Yeah.
On the other hand, like do you just want to make a lot of money? Like that's a different type of person.
Yeah. There's no wrong way to go about achieving goals. If you achieve your goal, and
computer don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully, you're doing something good for the world, not bad for the world.
Yeah. Okay, so there are some wrong ways. Don't be a Nazi.
There are some wrong goals, right?
Try to be.
Yeah. Another argument against always having great architecture. AI is really beginning to fit itself into the software development market. And you've kind of mentioned this before, Sean, where maybe you have AI write huge chunks of your code, and maybe it's great code, maybe it's not. But even if it's not great architecture, what does it matter if you can just have the AI fix that code for you? If you can continue to poke and prod the AI, and that keeps the product moving and developing in a good direction at a good speed, chances are that's going to continue, and it'll continue to get better. And in that case, architecture probably does still have its place. It probably still has its place, in terms of, you're going to need people to review these projects and make sure they're not going down the wrong development path or becoming too much work, even too much for the AI, wasting too much time and energy. But for the average developer, maybe it doesn't really need to be front of mind. Maybe just focusing on what's immediate, what gets the feature done, what the user experience is, how things feel at the end of the day from a user perspective. Maybe that's all that really matters.
Yeah. I was wondering how long it would take for us to get to AI.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Check it off, on your bingo card. We're talking about AI again.
Right, yeah. Hard to avoid in this industry.
Yeah, like I talk about just a few minutes ago, we talked about like rewriting stuff and having, modular code so you can have breakpoints. All that, even the ability to rewrite is based on a low cost of code. Like if we go back a few decades, like the cost of code was you had to sit and write out your algorithm and then put it into punch cards and then put it into the machine, and then hopefully it runs right, or it doesn't and it barfs, and then you have to start over. And so the cost of code is incredible. Hardware is expensive, labor is expensive, even those punch cards are probably expensive. Fast forward to like 2 years ago, cost of a developer, a human in the United States, or hey, let's go to Latin America or India, let's outsource. Like the cost of a human to write the code is low relative to that historic precedent.
Yeah.
And in that universe, you don't have to be too precious about anything because code is not cheap, not free, but cheaper than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Now, my point is you go into today and the future, and the marginal cost of code is going down to zero.
Yeah.
Because as you described and many smart people have described, who cares about architecture if you're just like, hey, Claude, make me a doodad that does this thing. I need it to look really good. And then it does it. And then you're like, not like that. And then you're like, okay, let me just replace the graphics. All right, cool. And like the cost of code at that point is, less than a penny on the dollar. You're paying nothing relative to historic precedent.
Yeah.
So yeah, like at that point, like I don't know. It's like the arts and crafts movement we discussed before. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like going from, you're making pottery or ceramics by hand. All
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden, a factory opens down the street that can just bang out 1,000 plates a minute.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Very similar for code. So into
Mm-hmm.
that world, I don't know if I have a clear answer. Like, does architecture matter? Like, I don't know. Are
Right.
people involved?
Yeah. Yeah. And if I had to place a bet, I would say no. I think
Oh,
I think there is going to be a niche group of people who are, the deep experts on this kind of stuff, but it'll be kind of like the people who write, our compilers, like the Swift compiler, right? Uh, like I don't know anyone who's worked on that kind of thing. I don't know anyone who's written a compiler ever, but they're out
well,
there.
that's actually a very good point. I was reminded a couple weeks ago.
Hmm.
Compilers used to be very expensive.
Mm.
If you wanted to make a product for the IBM PC,
Hmm.
you might buy your C++ compiler, and it would be $10,000. Like
Oh
in the
wow!
'80s, $10,000.
Shoot.
A developer kit was not $99 a year or free.
Hmm.
It was thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. The Microsoft developer,
Wow.
they would send you DVDs every year, and it cost, not DVDs, CD-ROMs, first books, then CD-ROMs, then DVDs, but
Hmm.
very expensive. And so that's another thing where the marginal cost of compilers
Hmm.
has gone to zero.
Yeah.
Or yeah, because you get them for free. They're all open source.
Yeah.
And so like
Yeah.
on one hand, it's like, wow, open source won.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, it's like, well, how does anyone make money? How do these people
Yeah.
live?
Right. Right. And I mean, I guess, as these things become abstracted, new tools are built on top of them to make using them easier. Hopefully, the same happens with the whole AI thing. Maybe
Yeah.
there's still work to be done at a higher level, more abstracted level. Um, but yeah, I think that's probably where architecture might be going, is to those really niche expert levels. And probably, let's say you start learning software development in like 5 or 10 years from now, you're probably not looking at a programming language too carefully. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but my guess is, seeing how much AI has improved in the past 5 years. Has it even been 5 years since like ChatGPT released? Um, it's probably going to improve at an even faster rate over the next 5 years. And at that point,
Yeah.
maybe someone's already released an IDE where the code is literally, you have to view a source and you're looking at the user experience the whole time.
Yeah. I can imagine. I'm surprised I haven't read this elsewhere. Maybe I'm not looking hard enough, but I can imagine a world in the near future where software jobs are much more similar to traditional engineering jobs.
Mm.
Because like um, concrete engineering is
Mhm.
incredibly complicated. There are smart people that do it, but like the actual concrete pouring,
Mm-hmm.
like not high skill. Like
Yeah.
well, no, that's the not high value. Like
Okay.
people that I'm sure they would say it takes a lot of skill to do it right.
Probably.
So I don't want to insult concrete the concrete men.
Yeah, I've seen them work those brushes to make the grip on the concrete, on the sidewalks.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can
Yeah.
do that super, super easy right now. Take some practice.
So there's still a trade, but there's a difference. There is the academic, which are like looking at concrete mixtures experimentally, like
Yeah.
in labs.
Mhm.
Then there's the engineering class, which is pretty small, but these companies work on, you know, literally architecture for
Yeah,
like
yeah.
parking structures and complicated stadiums in concrete.
Yeah.
And then finally, there's the implementation,
Mm.
which is paid relatively low to the other two classes. But you can see how right now in software,
Mhm.
everybody is in the sort of implementation zone.
Right.
There's a few academics for sure, and there's a few like researchers and high skilled engineering, but there's a huge sort of middle class of programming.
Yeah.
And so, like, looking in the future, I can imagine it going the way of other engineering professions where,
Sure.
like, there are fewer
Mhm.
sort of high skilled engineers working on, like, rocket design,
Mhm.
jet design, concrete stadiums,
Yeah.
architecture. And then the actual implementation, the way things are going is much more LLMs banging things out and
Yeah.
getting the code together.
Yeah, maybe software developers become similar to like graphic designers. Maybe a little more involved in terms of user experience, user interaction. But maybe it's, a kind of thing where opinions, portfolio, and experience matters more than technical knowledge,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that's another for the bingo card. Good taste.
There you go.
That's what you're saying. That's the
Yeah.
differentiator. Yeah, because if in the near future anyone can say, "Hey Claude, give me a to-do list."
Hmm.
The difference will be a to-do list that is a good user experience, that is effective, that is
Hmm.
performant.
Yeah.
Like all of those less tangible things than
Oh,
just
yeah.
does this meet requirements.
Yeah. And UX development didn't always exist. I think it started to kind of come up maybe in the like early 2000s, maybe 2010s, as a more prominent role.
UX as a title for sure, but
Uh-huh.
human computer interaction goes back to the 40s.
Maybe I'm just thinking in its existing form. Yeah.
Yeah, UX as a job title is pretty new.
It's not that far from what I could imagine a developer using AI might be doing in a couple years. If if really it's just coming up with like ideas for how an app should work, the AI will make that happen for you. Maybe we all just kind of turn into UX designers.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, this is a limitation of imagination because I don't know right now. I still don't see anyone. Again, maybe I'm not looking hard enough, but I don't see anyone that shipped something like production scale with just AI. Like I hear so much about like prototypes and proof of concepts and stuff, but
Mhm.
the thing that holds me back, and again, a failure of imagination, is that
Sure.
right now, if you use AI and you get the thing that mostly works, you still have to dip into the
Mhm.
code for some of those less tangible things. You're like, oh, this interaction is bad.
Right.
It is easier
Yeah.
for me to communicate with the computer how the interaction should work with code than trying to argue
Yes.
with an LLM chatbot interface. And so,
Agreed, but that might just be a product of the times, right?
yeah, like fast
That might
forward.
just be something that,
Yeah,
gets better and better.
yeah.
Yeah.
John Syracuse said something a while ago about I don't know what the topic was, but he pointed out like chat and English as an interface
Okay.
doesn't even work all the time for people. Like even
Right, yeah.
even in trying, if you had a personal assistant who's the best personal assistant in the world,
Yeah.
and you said, "Hey, do this,"
Hmm.
like even that person
Might
is not going to get it
misunderstand
exactly
or
right.
yeah.
Yeah, and so there are limits. There are limits to any form of communication.
Yes.
But again,
Yeah.
who knows what the future holds?
Well, yeah. But I mean, even within that, that's assuming certain limitations, right?
Yeah.
If you have 1 minute to describe what you want, you might get a worse result than if you have a 3-hour lecture to describe what you want.
That's true. But then is
Um,
it easier? Would it be faster to just write it yourself or to have that 3-hour lecture?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question, and I'm sure there are some applications where you might actually want that 3-hour lecture. Maybe your
Yeah.
banking service, or something like that, where the details
man.
matter.
I'm sure some big brain people somewhere are thinking about it.
Yeah. But I think if I had to plant my flag anywhere for or against clean architecture always being necessary, especially in solo projects, I'm gonna say no.
Oh yeah. If it's got to be a binary, I gotta pick no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything should inform the goals. What are we trying to do here? And then, your rituals, your architecture, your org chart, everything goes back to the strategy and the goals.
Exactly.
So since it's the end of the year, 2025 is coming to a close as we record this, I figured it'd be fun to do a sort of best of, worst of year in review. I was then inspired by so many great podcasts and writers and everybody to listen to, summarizing all the great things that they enjoyed. So I thought, walking around this morning, I talk about some of my favorite things from the year, and then some of the things I hated this year. Well, actually, there's only one. I'll just tell you what it is. Apple's software releases.
Oh,
year. Terrible.
Sorry, Apple.
I watched Quinn Nelson, Snazzy Labs on YouTube. He did a video about sort of grading Apple for the year, and I think all of them that do these grades at the end of the year, they're all grade inflating because I guess rightfully so. They compare Apple to other computer and phone makers.
Yeah.
And by comparison, for sure, they deserve their A's and B's.
But maybe the bar is low.
Yeah, like that's unfair because you got Apple, who was a star student, just sort of coasting in a lot of areas. And so, hardware from Apple, great. But just, God, these releases this year. And I'll put stuff in the show notes with links to more people complaining about macOS Tahoe. It's just, it's so bad. Even this morning, I was using Journal. I was journaling for the day, having a great time, and I dragged and dropped a photo in, and this photo will not stay put. In editing, it didn't pop in. I saved it. I came back. It was in a different place.
Oh, no.
I open it, and it doesn't show up in it. Like,
Yeah.
So, anyway, we'll start with the bad. We'll get the bad out of the way. Worst of the year, Apple software releases this year. Ruined 2025 for me. Absolutely ruined it.
Shoot.
I'm exaggerating a little.
Just a little.
Yeah. But I want to let's talk about some good stuff. So this is an oldie but a goodie that came back for me this year. This year, I've been noodling around on my guitar again for the first time in a while. And I opened up GarageBand again for the first time in a while. And GarageBand is still completely free.
Yeah.
Included on every Mac. And it has so many things.
It's very powerful, yeah.
If you're like, I don't know, anything you want to do, like Google it or look for a YouTube tutorial, and I guarantee you GarageBand can do it. Like, I feel like there's a 90% GarageBand hit rate. And I looked at other virtual amplifiers, virtual effects for guitars, and all the other makers have terrible software. Maybe the sound that comes out is good, but the software is horrible. The interface is horrible. The licensing is horrible. They're expensive. And so I noodled with them, and then I just went right back to GarageBand. I was like, whatever I want to do to record stuff, to have fun, to noodle around, to just have a virtual guitar amp, it's all in GarageBand. You want to edit a podcast, you want to play around with your guitar, you want to beatbox,
yeah,
so cool.
It's all there. And it's built for both music production and live performances. Some people, if you haven't gotten into music production, it might be hard to tell the difference. But with live performances, you're working on kind of layering things on top of each other through loops that you can kind of build naturally as the beat progresses. And that's one type of music production, and it's great for live performances. But oftentimes,
so cool.
Software will focus on just that kind of thing, or it'll focus on more of having your separate tracks that you kind of develop over time, separately from each other. You might take weeks instead of one live performance. GarageBand works great for both, and that's not easy to find.
Yeah, kudos to GarageBand. They didn't update the interface. It just keeps plugging along. They give you a ton of content for free. It's just hanging out there in every Mac. And I forgot about it for years, and then I was back and I kept thinking this is just great. Thank you, Apple.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you want to make music, it's a free software that if you have the right equipment you can use. And it's not just on Mac, it's on iOS and iPadOS.
Oh yeah.
And it works great on those too. One of my favorite things to do is to look up how people are making music with different tools. If you search GarageBand music production, you'll find so many people, all the way from experts to amateurs, remaking very popular songs that sound just as professional as the real songs. It's really awesome. Don't sleep on GarageBand, guys.
Yeah. All right. Next up in my best of the year, there is an open source, completely free to start app on iPad and iOS, iPhone, for audiobooks called
Mm.
Book Player. Totally forgettable name, but
Hmm.
Book Player is so full featured, so powerful. It integrates with so many things. If you pay them some money, because it is free and open source, if you pay them some money, it will sync through iCloud to all your devices. It's a great audiobook player. And the reason I came to it is because previously I would just use Audible's audiobook player, or Apple's one, and I would just buy, depending on, sometimes I had an Audible subscription or sometimes I would buy something on the Apple one. And the apps just they aren't very good.
Yeah.
Sorry to Audible and Apple, but your audiobook playback is just not very good.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I found there's totally free software. Um, I think it's called Libation. Yeah, it's called
Mm.
Libation, that will connect to Audible and download all of your audiobooks DRM free. So I'm not entirely sure the legality of that, but they're your books. You bought your license, so you
Yeah.
get a DRM free version, and then you can just pop it on with AirDrop, or it can integrate with Jellyfin or Book Upload and all these like different media services. And so I got all of my audiobooks in one place, and I got them out of the DRM prisons, and then just using Book Player. And Book Player is
Mm.
so great. Their Apple Watch app is great too. It's open source, so if you want to contribute, you can go in there. If you want the sync,
Nice.
it's just $5 a month. Like, it's so rare that I'm pleasantly surprised by software these days. So I was so happy to just be like, this is a great app.
Awesome.
All right, last but not least, um, this this is so nerdy, but for somebody that needs it, Tailscale. Tailscale is it's not really a VPN in the sense that it masks your outbound traffic to the internet. It's a VPN in the sense that it creates a virtual network with your home and your other stuff. So if you install the Tailscale app on your Mac at home and your phone, and you configure it, then you go out somewhere in the world, you can use Tailscale on your phone to be virtually in your house again. And
Huh.
so I've heard about this. Accidental Tech Podcast, Casey List talks about it so much. He's a big fan. But I tried it out about halfway through this year, and it really is. It is approachable enough for somebody that has no idea how networking works, but it's got
Okay.
superpower features if you want to go deep and get crazy.
Nice.
It's as simple as installing an app. And best of all, because they make all their business from enterprise and business, it's totally free for up to like 5 devices, 5 users, something like that. And
Nice.
so, like, I've got my home server with all sorts of junk on it. And
Hmm.
now, wherever I am, I can just boop back in and get to those audiobooks I just mentioned, or a
Hmm.
movie, or some media that I
Nice.
don't have through any other cloud service. And it's
Hmm.
really enabled me to just, like, I don't know, do cool computer networking stuff. Like, it's
Yeah.
been a lot of fun. It's great
Hmm.
software, it's reliable, and it's free. What's not to love?
Yeah. That is awesome. I've definitely been out and about, whether it's like at a job or just like trying to like find some files that I know I've got somewhere, wishing that I could somehow access my like home system like out and about. So that I'm sure would come in handy every once in a while.
Yeah, it's been a joy.
That's awesome.
All right, so what do you have? What's your good and bad from this year?
Yeah, so thinking back on 2025, I don't think any of these are limited to the year of 2025 in terms of existence, but these are different devices, technology that has stood out for me personally. So the first one, maybe a little underwhelming for many people considering how it's performed in the market, but I would say Vision Pro is still one of my favorite devices. Um, it feels like an operating system that has so much potential to be more than what it is today, or at least in terms of how much usage it gets today. You know, there's not a lot of people who will go around saying that they use the Vision Pro as their main PC, but it's totally got that capability. You know, just like your phone and iPad, it can check the internet, your email, your photos. You can do all of that with it. And most of all, when you're using it, it feels like a very compelling experience still. The tough question is, why aren't people using it more? Why does it become a paperweight after people, buy it? They say they never touch it. I've got some ideas on that. Maybe we can dive into that deeper on a future episode. But one point I'll at least bring up is sometimes you've got to make your technology very accessible, and I think that's not something a lot of people focus on for their headsets. So a lot of people will use their headsets and then they'll put it in a case and put it in their closet, or under their bed or in a desk drawer or something like that. And it's out of sight, out of mind, But something that I've done recently is I've actually gotten a stand, something small and compact, that allows me to keep my Vision Pro on my desk. That way, whenever I want a more immersive environment than just my computer screen, I can pop that on and have that ready to go. I think I mentioned to you recently I downgraded from 2 screens to 1 screen. And having the Vision Pro on my desk has been one way that I've been able to kind of keep that 2-screen experience when I really want it, It's not really 2 screens in the Vision Pro, it's like an extra wide screen, but functionally it's the same. And you really can't match the immersion of Vision Pro with a desktop or phone experience. It's even more immersive than a movie theater a lot of times, And so this feels like a device of the future. This is still something that's compelling to me today, even if it's not my main PC machine yet. I think it's something that I'm still very impressed and inspired by in 2025.
I should have known. I could have guessed it.
Yeah.
Since we've been spending time together on this podcast, I've been looking every so often on eBay because with the M5 Vision Pro out, the older ones are down to $1,800, $2,000, which is an incredible discount. And
absolutely,
is it worth that? I could be on the exercise bike watching a movie. I could I could have a big screen upstairs, maybe.
So, as someone who uses it pretty frequently, somewhat regularly, I would say, for someone who's curious about whether they want to get it or not, like you, it depends on how interested you are in using a new technology, something very different from what you're already used to, and how willing you are to kind of spend time getting used to a kind of new workflow for the benefit of a new, maybe more immersive, an experience that gives you different capabilities than you might have on your traditional setup. If you're looking for something that will fit into your existing, work experience, maybe that's your desk, maybe it's your laptop that you take everywhere, I think there are ways that it can work with those experiences, but I think it's best viewed as its own separate experience, its own, kind of platform and way of doing things. In the same way that sometimes you want to do things on your phone, sometimes you want to do things on your computer. There are times you're just going to want to do things in Vision Pro, maybe watch a movie or something. And so if you're curious about it, make sure you get it for its own unique experience, as opposed to something that's going to really be just like everything you've already got. It's not a better version of what you've got. It's something completely different.
Yeah.
Another piece of technology I've been very impressed by for 2025 is the Steam Deck. You're familiar with that one, right?
Oh yeah, I know the Steam Deck.
Oh yeah, for those who aren't, it's basically a Linux computer in the form of a handheld gaming machine made by Valve. And basically, it allows you to take your game library that normally exists for PC. I think there are other forms that you can play those games on. But one of the more recent ones is the Steam Deck. That's a new form that you're able to kind of take all of your games on the go and play things like No Man's Sky, which is pretty graphically intensive. Things like Cyberpunk 2077. You can play these really like high fidelity, very graphical, very visually cool experiences on the go. And the battery life isn't terrible for these kinds of games like you might expect. Like if you're playing a full PC game, that's going to demand a bit of power, but even for the most graphically intense games, you're usually able to get more than an hour of gameplay out of it, and that's plenty when you're not plugged in. But if you are by an outlet, obviously your game time is unlimited. Even more than just taking your games on the go, I've been inspired by the way that Valve is really pushing forward Linux hardware, because SteamOS, which is how you access these games, is built with a desktop environment, and it's built to work seamlessly with any kind of Linux software out there. And so this is really kind of priming itself for becoming a pretty good platform for working on in general, not just for video games, but for all kinds of computer needs for the future. I'm not sure if I would say it's there yet today. Like if someone's looking for a desktop machine and a gaming machine at a low cost and it's portable, like I'm not sure. I'd maybe recommend it as something to be aware of, but I'm not sure it's, perfect for that today. But it is at least kind of there. It's getting there, and it looks like it's going to be getting better and better because Valve looks committed to it. In fact, they've expanded it to their new VR headset. I forgot what it's called. The Steam Frame, I think. And they've got it coming out on the... it's like a desktop for your TV. I forgot what that one's called, too. It's like the deck, the frame. They've got a console, basically, for your TV, too, that will use Steam OS. So Steam Deck and maybe Steam OS, more specifically, are on my list of cool tech in 2025.
Yeah. It's really incredible, like, how Valve has kind of backed into dominating and then disrupting all of video games. Like what started a million years ago is just like a storefront has turned into now, like basically they'll sell you the whole thing. Like there's a foreseeable future where they're competing against Microsoft and PlayStation and Nintendo. Like
absolutely,
it's just incredible what they've been able to do, and that hardware is great. Like
yeah,
if you want an appliance that just plays video games, boom, you're ready to go. If you want to hack it, they say on the website, on the store pages, it's your hardware. Do what you want. Like it's so cool.
Yeah, and there's plenty of computer and game companies out there that will release hardware, and you play it, and you're not surprised when you realize it's kind of laggy. It's not the best experience. Steam, like Apple, like other great companies out there, really does care about the user experience. There were times where, especially in the beginning of the Steam Deck, where some games just did not perform well, had terrible graphics. Valve basically had to write a lot of technology, a lot of software to kind of make some of these games work on its platform. But it's gotten better and better over the years, and these days, I remember when I played No Man's Sky on the Steam Deck when it first came out, you could see the graphics difference, It did not look great. But today, it looks just as good as it does on my PC, which has a way better graphics card, which is much more capable in terms of power. And so, yeah, it's come a long way, and I am fully a fan of the Steam Deck today and where it could go.
Nice. Yeah, put it on the list.
Oh, yeah. Something else that has really wowed me for 2025, speaking generally, music chord machines. When you're producing music, when you're writing music, sometimes the challenge is coming up with that melody, the real structure of the song, which really boils down to coming up with the right chords and making the body of the song like feel good, feel professional, feel finished. Um, and with enough music knowledge, you can do that pretty easily if you're aware of like music theory and how to build chords, different variations of chords. But if you don't have that, a lot of times you're kind of just like experimenting until you find something that feels right, which is a great way to do things too. But recently, there have been these chord machines that have been coming out that make creating chords much simpler. So if you've ever played guitar, then you might be familiar with learning how to play different chords. There's, different finger patterns that you have to do. And the trick is learning those finger patterns, because if you don't know them, then you don't know any of the chords, Eventually, you learn enough chords that you can kind of improvise and experiment and come up with things on your own. But chances are you probably haven't learned all of the chords there are to learn. So these chord machines actually make all of the chords very accessible for you. They've got a few different keys, and then they've got different variations of those chords. So you might play a C major chord, you might play a C minor chord, and all you have to do is press buttons like here and there to say, I want a C major chord. You don't have to know the finger pattern. You don't have to know the combination of notes that makes up that or that chord. It takes a lot of the really granular work of chord composition out of the picture and makes it so you can really just focus on how the song sounds, how it feels. And I think that's really awesome. Chord machines are like blowing up recently. There's so many options. Shout out specifically to Orchid by Telepathic Instruments, and also High Chord. These are a couple of my favorites. Also, the Roland J6 is a good one. These different instruments, synthesizers, whatever you want to call them, these devices, have made chord sequencing so much easier, so much better than it has been before, especially for people who don't have a deep knowledge of music theory and chord construction.
Yeah, we were talking before not just about chord machines, but just like single-use musical tools in general. And it's so joyful to have a box that just samples and just plays, or just give me chords and let me try every variation. Okay, so it's a C. Let's try a suspended seventh. Let's try a minor. Let's try a major dominant sixth. Let's see what does this all sound like? And it's all,
Yep.
tactile button presses. It's so cool.
Oh yeah. Literally, a toddler could probably come up with a few different chord sequences with these. It's amazing. You add in some arpeggiation. You add in different synth sounds. You can come up with something really compelling, really easy.
Chord machines, MVP of the year. Great job.
Oh yeah. And loosely related to that, as a company, as a technology company. My final item to mention for a favorite tech in 2025 is teenage engineering. These guys have been on the map for a while. A lot of people have known about them, been fans of them for a while. I've been loosely aware of them, but this year I've taken a closer look at them, and I really do enjoy their technology a lot, on the level that I've enjoyed Apple's technology. I think it's very thoughtfully designed. I think it's very functional, very capable. It really empowers the user to do things that you can't do easily on other platforms. And they've got this kind of, just the way that they make things, the way that their products work, feels cool. They've got the cool factor, basically,
Yeah.
And this year, I've been tempted to buy so many of their products. I haven't been able to buy all of the ones that I want, but the collection has started, and it's probably going to continue. And this is only something that has taken hold of me for 2025. But if you're not familiar with Teenage Engineering, definitely a company worth brushing up on, not just for the devices that they have created and sell themselves, but they're also involved with other companies. They helped to make an AI device. I think it was Rabbit. It was a little bit of a flop. They've worked with other companies on other devices. They've worked with Kanye West. They had a little music player that would allow you to play different tracks of his song. So you could kind of like cut out the drums, cut out the synths, and hear his vocals, individually, clearly. A new way to listen to music, But yeah, these guys are doing cool stuff in the music space and the tech space in general, and they're very design focused. Their stuff is awesome, worth checking out.
Yeah, they're an incredible design firm, and like you said, they contract with third parties. So they also worked on the Playdate, Panic handheld gaming thingy.
Yeah.
But if you go to their website, they have the excellent domain teenage.engineering.
Yes.
That's it. There's no .com.
Right.
The TLDR is engineering.
Yeah, you can see their design ethos in that domain itself.
Yeah, and it's incredible just to scroll through their site, and there's the things they sell. I mean, they have everything from computer cases to these little like wooden dolls that if you bring them together and wiggle them, they make different sounds. They have music devices, they have samplers, they have speakers, they have they have a new thing, this Riddiman thing.
Oh yeah.
all this stuff that I have no need for, but I would gladly spend thousands of dollars on. It's just a joy, yeah.
They really make technology fun.
All right. I'll tell them they got the NSCoder Design of the Year award.
Oh, there you go. All right. Congratulations, Teenage Engineering.
Yay! Woo!
Welcome to
NSCoder Chicago. NSCoder Chicago.
Welcome to
NSCoder Chicago. NSCoder Chicago.
Some quick follow-up from last week's episode. Since I ranted about how much I hate liquid glass and macOS Tahoe is a mess, some very talented and smart people from around the web added on and sort of published their takes. So in the show notes, I'll link to at least one. There's a site called the Eclectic Light Company, and this guy, he's new to me. I just discovered his blog, but he has been posting since 2015. He's got a ton of great stuff, but he wrote an incredible, just demolished Tahoe. Is like just all the terrible things just enumerated.
Sure.
So
which is nice to see
support.
clearly sometimes, even if you're a fan.
Yeah. I mean, because me just sort of yelling and waving my hands, not so helpful, but he did the work to, really spell it out, really, take names.
Nice.
Yep. And then also last week talked about losing access to your iCloud account, your Apple account, being banished from Apple. And so I did some experiments. I did not do a full iCloud dump because I have advanced data protection on, and I had to turn on the web access and stuff. So like, I am not personally acquainted with the total data dump requesting all your information, but I did confirm that journals and notes and passwords all have some sort of export functionality.
Awesome.
And so it might not be pretty, and it might be manual. You might have to go one at a time. In the case of notes, you have to go export to pages or PDF or Markdown, but it works. You can get your stuff out. There are also, I found a lot of free utilities, some of them actually, trustworthy, that will work with the database and pull your stuff out. So if you still have access to your phone locally, but your iCloud account is hosed, you can get these utilities that'll help you to dump all that stuff into a machine-readable format that you can import to something else. There is a caveat with passwords where they're building direct integrations with third parties. So right now, they don't have 1Password, but I think one of the developers said that they're working on 1Password. so you have to go sort of straight from passwords to the app. You can't export from the Mac. It's a little limited, but it exists. And I didn't delete my iCloud account, but on a second device I logged out without deleting content, and most of the stuff was still there. So
okay.
I think we're okay. And then last but not least, photos. I did a bit of research on how to get your photos out. If you download all of them, as I suggested in the last episode, you have the photos, but what about the edits and the metadata? So for that, if you're going to another cloud-based service like Google Photos or Proton Photos, they have iOS apps that will slurp up your photos. So again, as long as you have them downloaded onto your device, their apps can then import them through iOS in the background. It'll take a while, but they'll suck them into the new service. I also found in my research a self-hosted option. It's growing in popularity. It's poorly spelled. It's Image, IMMACH, Image.
Oh wow!
And it's open source, self-hosted, and it provides pretty much everything that Google Photos does in terms of viewing photos. It doesn't have any of the editing or the AI tools, as far as I can tell. But you can either pay there are some hosters that offer it as like a service, so you pay a low monthly fee and they host it on your behalf, or you can host it on your own machine. You can use Tailscale that I mentioned earlier and host it somewhere in your house. An Image, completely self-hosted, completely free, and they also have an iOS app that will import all the stuff and pull all the metadata along with it. So there are options as long as you have those backups. I emphatically just can't recommend enough.
Right.
Get
Download
your data
everything
down.
at least on one machine.
Yep. Backup strategy 3, 2, 1. Three things. I'm gonna mess it up. What is it? 3 things, 2 things, 1 off-site. Anyway, 3 is 2, 2 is 1, 1 is none. Backup.
Yes. Wow. And safe to assume for Image, you probably have to use their app to access your photos, right? It's not something you can tie the iOS Photos app to, is it?
No.
Okay.
The if you're out of the iCloud ecosystem, then you're out of Photos. There's no way to use.
Makes sense.
Although this is so difficult to try to explain to like my parents. There's Photos, the web service, but then there's also your photo roll. So like,
oh sure, yeah.
Even if you turn off iCloud Photos, the Photos app will still have photos from the pictures you took.
Okay.
And so like there's like, so that's not technically photos, but they're still photos and it's still in the same app, so it gets weird. But yeah, you got to use a third party to pull them out.
That's been our podcast for today. Thanks for listening. My name is David Vision.
And my name's Sean Walter. NSCoder Chicago is a monthly meetup. Join us on the last Tuesday of every month, or almost every month. More details are available at our website, nscoder-chicago.com, or find us on our meetup page. Go to meetup.com and search for NSCoder Chicago or Apple, Mac, iOS Meetup Chicago. You'll find us. We'd love to see you. Come on down.
Yeah, hope to see you there. See you guys.